Hey there guys, this is your first homework assignment covering chapter 1.2, significant figures and decimal places. As a reminder, this is just part 1 of your notes that introduces the basics of how to round to significant figures. We'll go more in depth and have more example problems in part 2 of notes, which is during class. Hopefully all of you have your sound on. If you don't, make sure you're always having your sound on for all your videos you watch. Also, make sure you're giving it your complete attention and you're copying down notes so that you are prepared for your skills check at the start of next class. Now, if you're curious on what type of problems we'll be covering in class, you can always check to see it in your part 2 notes. It'll be on the back of your part 1 notes. It's more in depth of how we're going to use significant figures. So I expect you to come into class already knowing the rules of how to round to significant figures and be able to round any given number to any given significant figure. Now, also really important, significant figures is one of the most important introductory lessons, because it's really the end result in your IB exam. You won't have a particular problem on your IB exam that says, here's the number rounded to 3 significant figures. Rather, it's the end product. So it might say, hey, find the volume of this cuboid, and then round it to 3 significant figures. So it's not a problem in itself. It's really end problem to any type of math topic, stats, calculus, pre-cal, anything like that. So let's go over significant figures. Significant figures is just another form of rounding. We know how to round to decimal places. We're not going to learn how to round to significant figures. Now, significant figures are typically used in measuring instruments, such as a scale. So we see a scale down here. Now, for the displays on these type of instruments, they're not unlimited. They can't just show an unlimited number of numbers on the display. That makes sense. So that means rounding is needed. And the digits that can be displayed accurately are called significant figures. And we care about accuracy, especially in measuring, instruments, because that usually comes into chemistry and things like that. So in this particular example, we can see that our display only shows 3 digits, and it rounds to a decimal place. Well, that means our accuracy goes up to tenths of a gram. And the most it can go up to is 99.9 as far as accuracy goes, because once you get to 100, well, notice you lose the decimal place, you lose that accuracy. Once you have 100, you're taking up all 3 digits. You're only rounding to the nearest whole gram rather to the tenth of a gram. So we can say we can only measure up to 3 digits accurately, or 3 significant figures, abbreviated as SF. So that's where significant figures show up in context, but here's actually the rules of how to round to significant figures. Now, make sure you copy this table down because it will be very important for your skills check and beyond. Now, the first rule is very easy. All non-zero digits are always significant. So we can see here we have 4 non-zero numbers. They're all significant. I have 4 significant figures. I have 3 non-zero digits. They're all significant. I have 3 significant figures. Zeros is where it gets tricky. Sometimes they're significant and sometimes they're not, depending on their placement. So here's the second rule. Any zeros between 2 significant digits are significant. So we can see the zeros between 3 and 5, which makes it significant. These 2 zeros are between 2 significant figures, which means they're also significant. You get 4 significant figures. Now, we have things called leading zeros and trailing zeros. Leading zeros go in front of your first significant figure, and trailing zeros go at the end of your last significant figure. Now, trailing zeros are never significant, so that's why they're not highlighted in red. Never are leading zeros, I might have said trailing, leading zeros are never significant. Trailing zeros, on the other hand, are significant when a decimal is present. So notice here, I'm in my decimal place. These trailing zeros are significant. Similarly here, I have leading zeros, never significant, so don't count them. In this case, I don't have any trailing zeros, so I don't count them. I have 1 non-zero digit, therefore I only have 1 significant figure. And then here I have 3. So let's practice. So we have this case of I want to round this number to 2 significant figures. So what I'm going to do is find my pen. Here we go. And I'm going to say, okay, well, here's my 2 significant figures. Remember, leading zeros aren't significant. So these are 2 significant figures. Here's my cutoff. Look at the number to the right. You're going to use the same rules as rounding to decimal places. Since it's below 5, it stays the same. I round it to 0.12. For your next example, not significant since it's a leading zero. These 2 are significant. Here's my cutoff. Greater than 5, so I'm going to round up, but this is 9, which means the 2 gets rounded to a 3. I rounded to 0.30. Now make sure you include the 0 here because we want 2 significant figures. If you had to put your answer only as 0.3, That's only one significant figure. The 0 is significant since it's a trailing 0, and I see a decimal place. Next one, 415.225, and I want to round it to 3 significant figures this time. So here's my 3, here's my cutoff, look at the number to the right, not significant, or not below 5, my bad. So that means I'm just rounding to 415. That's 3 significant figures. This one, 3,050 to 2 significant figures. 3 significant, I know, because it's a non-zero digit. The 0 is between 2 non-zero digits, so it's also significant. So here's my cutoff. This is 5 or above, so I'm going to round up. Really, really important. Do not tell me my answer is 31. This is not 31.50. This is 3,050. So when I round this, it's going to be 3,100. Now you might be asking yourself, isn't this 4 significant figures since it has 2 trailing zeros? Nay. Trailing zeros are only significant if there is a decimal present. There's no decimal place here. Here there is, so that 0 is significant. Here, there's no decimal place, which means these trailing zeros are not significant. Therefore, in this case, yes, there is 2 significant figures, even though I have 4 digits. That one's a little bit tricky. We'll have more practice. Skills check, you see kind of a preview in your Part 1 notes. There's going to be 6 questions on your skills check. The first 3 have been revealed to you. They're going to be exactly the same on your skills check. The skills check has a grade, by the way. 3 of them are going to be a mystery. I'm going to give it to you as you walk into class. But you know, generally, you're going to be given a number and asked to round to 1 significant figure, 2 significant figures. Also, be very careful. Sometimes I ask you to round to decimal places. And sometimes I ask you to round to 2 significant, 3 significant, 1 significant. So make sure you're reading these carefully. We're going to cover everything else in the Part 2 notes. We'll go more to depth. So the back page of your notes, you do not have to fill out. We'll do that together in class. We'll do the skills check as soon as you walk in, and we'll have more practice. If you have any questions, ask me before your skills check, or feel free to email me or sign up for tutoring. Have a nice day.